Hello, everyone. My name is Tani Mogaji, and this is my final presentation. My presentation is gonna be between Qatar and Nigeria. So, to start off with some general information about Nigeria, I'm originally from Nigeria, Lagos to be precise. I associate with Yoruba culture, and basically, Yoruba is a tribe and it's also a language. There are four main tribes in Nigeria. There's Yoruba, Igbo, um, Edo, and Hausa. But I identify, like I said before, with Yoruba culture. Traditionally, the men in Yoruba culture are usually farmers or craftsmen, or they practice what's it called, craftsmanship. Men are also considered to hold like a high power and responsibility in society. Um, and a little background information about the Yoruba tribe. Oyo is actually was one of the largest kingdoms in the tribe, and also in my culture, customs and courtesies are very, very important. For example, when you're addressing an elder for like the first time, you say either good morning, good morning, sir, and you always have to like bow your head as you're greeting them. And then some general information about Qatar. Qatar is located in the Middle East, and Doha is the capital. The population of the country is over 600,000. And when you go to Qatar and you're offered coffee, it is a good thing for you to accept it because it's basically seen as like a welcome token. So if you decline it, you're kind of coming off as rude. And since Qatar is an Islamic country, the women there are expected to dress modestly. And back then, too, uh, they used to fish for like pearls because it was like a way of them making income. So some cultural boundaries between both cultures. In both cultures, they both practice Islam, which is also why women are expected to dress modestly because of the religion as well. Because in Islamic, um, in Islam, it is seen as taboo if a woman is like too exposed or like if they expose their hair, for example, and just things like that. So a cultural more is that in both cultures, unlike the Western world, like because like in the Western world, like most parents expect their kids to move out by like 18, which is sort of like the norm. But in Yoruba culture and in Qatar culture, pretty much the children stay. It's seen as okay for the children to stay with their parents until they marry, essentially. So like most parents in both of those cultures do not push their children out as soon as they turn 18 or even like 20 or 21, but they rather their children live with them until they're married. But then again, it's not like a must that the children must live with them until they're married, but their parents are not gonna, like I said before, chase them out. So these are some difference between cultures. We have different like taboos. For example, in Qatar culture, it is seen as a taboo to drink in public, while in Yoruba culture, it's okay. Like especially during a celebration, there's people out on the streets dancing with alcohol, drinking, and just having a good time. And then another difference also is the way of eating and socializing. So, in Qatar culture, it's okay for like other people to eat out of your plate. It's seen as like a way of like bonding and like really getting to know someone. But in Yoruba culture, it's really disrespectful in our eyes. Those are just like a few differences between cultures. And a common misconception about both cultures is what's seen as like strict. And I guess that just ties in with like the whole like religion situation as well. But most people when they like think of like Nigeria, like Qatar, they think of like so many laws and customs and courtesies, and they just view us as like very strict. So, conflict, an essential conflict that happened in Qatar is there was basically like a huge fight um, because what's it called? This guy right here, Barani Kadifa. I'm so sorry if I butchered his name, but he was basically just fighting because he wanted more land in the country, and that really almost led to like the destruction of Qatar as a whole. And there was also another conflict between the Thani dynasty, and this was just over oil because they wanted a certain like percentage of the oil distribution in Qatar. All right, so this slide just basically talks about the different principles. So for both countries, I believe we're very, very judgmental, especially when it comes to like people from like a whole different country and with a whole different culture as a whole. And I feel like the solution for that is first the punctuation principle. And the punctuation principle just basically talks about boundaries. Like I said before, there's gonna be people from different corners of the world coming into your country, and we just need to know that there are certain boundaries that we cannot cross. That just because they don't share the same religious, political beliefs as you, or even like the same traditions as you, does not make it okay for you to judge them or make them feel unwelcome. And the other principle that I feel like would be very beneficial is the uncertainty principle, and it just makes both cultures be aware that hey, it's okay for you not to know things about people that come into your country, but instead this is a way for you to get to know them, and perhaps you'll find out that you both have something in common that you never thought you could. So, in conclusion, I feel like this learning about this culture group has really showed me that we have a lot of things in common, and it also made me realize, like I said before, that my culture especially is not open to what's it called, to outsiders, and I believe that's really something my culture especially needs to work on if we want to be better in the future. Um, and these are just some sources I used. Thank you for watching my presentation.